everyone, this is Linda, and today, as I promised, I wanted to talk to you all about traffic violations. Well, what I want to talk to you today about is traffic court. Now, this does not consist of DWIs, DUIs, um, hit and runs, or accidents. This is about immovable and movable violations. So we're going to get right into that in 1 second. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is if you've never been to traffic court before, I would suggest that the first thing you do is go to traffic court at least 2 to 3 days before your court date, just to learn the procedures of the court. It's just going to help you, just so you can know what to do and what is the process of you getting your violation heard. Now, when the police officer stops you and give you a ticket, he have you to sign that ticket. So at the bottom of it, now when you sign this ticket, it doesn't mean that you agree with the police officer and you agree that you was guilty. It only means that the date that he puts at the bottom of that traffic ticket, it means that you acknowledge that date and you are going to be in court on that date, and that date is your arraignment date. Now, usually you will not get to talk to the judge. You will not get to talk to a DA. Now, the courtroom I worked in is here in Jefferson Parish, so it may be different from where you live, but arraignment dates is just that. You go in and you plead guilty or not guilty. If you plead guilty, the judge will assess a fine and cost, and you go pay. If you plead not guilty, then you will get a trial date. Now, let's just back up a little bit. Say, for instance, you forgot your arraignment date, the date that the police officer wrote at the bottom of your ticket. Usually, you will have, if when you come to court, you will have an attachment out for your arrest. But if you don't get to court and say, for instance, a police officer stopped you for some reason, and he run your name and you have that attachment, yeah, you are going to jail. Yeah, you will go to jail. So beware of that arraignment date. So let's say that you made your arraignment date, you go to court. Now listen, this is not etched in stone, but you should not come to court with house shoes on, rollers. You should not wear clothes like you are going to the club. You should not have your cleavage out. You should not have on big hoop earrings. Now you say, well, what that have to do with it? It have a lot to do with who you are. Yeah, you don't want anything to distract any negative vibes towards you. You come to courtroom with, um, you know, um, tight clothes on, your house shoes with the little furry, the little furry yellow slippers. No, you don't want to do that. But all of those things really does play a factor in your traffic violation. Now, when I was in school, my professor, he told me that there are colors you should wear when you go to court. Now, I know it may sound weird, but as I worked in the court for many years, I see where it does help. You should wear dark colors like black, navy blue, or gray. Those are the colors that you should wear. You should not wear jeans. Some jeans are nice if you have them nicely with a nice shirt, but you don't want to go in there looking like you're going to the club, or you don't want to do that. Okay. So in my traffic court, there are movables and immovables. So a movable violation is simple. It's just that anything you do with your car that is moving, like running a red light, speeding, those are movable violations. Now, immovable violations is just that if your car was parked in front of your house, it still would be, you know, wrong. So like expired brake tag or expired license plate, or even you have an expired license. Yeah. So I have had people call me, and I tell them, listen, ma'am, your license is suspended, Well, no, I got my license in my pocketbook. I know you do, but it's suspended. Sometimes this could be really, really hard. So you really want to just be aware of what you have. Okay, so now you made your court date, your arraignment date. And simple, you just go in and you plead guilty or not guilty. The clerk will call you up. You stand before the judge. She will say your charges and how do you plead. You plead guilty or you plead not guilty. And remember this, if you plead guilty to movable violations will stay on your driving record. It will cause your insurance rates to go up. So you must be aware, and you must also be aware if you have had more than one or two movable violations within 6 months or within a year. Yeah, that could be really, really costly. My thing is, I'm not pleading guilty to nothing. That's just me, you know. So, say for instance, if you like me and you plead not guilty, so then you get a trial date. So on that trial date, that is the time that you will have to go in and talk to the DA. Now, if you have a good driving record, if you don't have any movable violations on your driving record, then the DA can, I'm not saying he will, but he can do this. He can do a couple of things. One thing he can do is he can amend the charge. Like say for instance, you had a speeding ticket. He can amend it to no seatbelt, which is a non-movable violation. And then you go out and you pay that, but you only pleading guilty to a no seatbelt, even though, yeah, you had your seatbelt on, but he has amended that charge from a movable to a non-movable, and this is good for you. Okay, so another thing he can do is he can dismiss it if you have a good record. Now, if you don't have a good record, then, yeah, that's where the way you look, the way you talk, all of those things play a role in it. Of course, if you have attorney representing you, then, all of this don't mean anything to you because he going to take care of all of it. So one thing my professor told me when I was in school, he said, knowing the law is good. Knowing the judge is better. So that is the procedures of court, going to court for your traffic violation. Know that you have a right to plead not guilty. It is not, most people that I find in court, when they come for the first time, they're afraid, and especially if they have an attachment out, they are so afraid they're going to go to jail. You are not going to go to jail. Matter of fact, you're in a good place to get all these things taken care of. So just remember, if you plead not guilty, go on and talk to the DA. And if you have a good driving record, you're going to walk out there looking good. So Just take care of your tickets. Don't just put them in the back of the glove box, because if you get stopped by the police officer and you have not taken care of your traffic violations, you will go to jail. Mm-hmm. Later, y'all. And there were two things I did forget. One thing I wanted to mention is that there's an article in Louisiana called Article 894. If you never had a movable violation before, you could be offered that, or you can ask, can you have Article 894? And what that means is that you plead guilty to the charges, but if you don't receive another violation for 6 months, then that violation will be expunged from your record. You still have to pay the fines and costs, but you will not. It would not be on your record. The second thing is that if you get a ticket for parking in the handicap, there is no amendments. No, the DA will not amend that charge. And right now, the total price of parking in the handicap is $575. Yeah, don't park there. Later, y'all.